Hello and welcome to my second video collecting Louis Vuitton, and this video here is going to deal with Louis Vuitton books, catalogue and literature. And as you can see from my first video, I'm an avid Louis Vuitton collector, and part of being a collector is that you also want to try and get as much information on the hobby that you've got. Now with Louis Vuitton, you've got numerous sources of literature. You've firstly got the Louis Vuitton store itself. When a new item or new line is released, they generally have a catalogue or a booklet that they release with that. For example, when the graphite line came out, they had a special graphite booklet which showed you some of the pieces in that new colour that were available. These booklets and catalogues, unfortunately, are only available for a limited time. So once that product has been released and the catalogues have been given out, that's basically it. You can buy a lot of catalogues on eBay, and eBay is a great source for sourcing catalogues and other literature. The second type of thing you can use, I've really gotten into this now, is the Louis Vuitton advertisements. Now, Louis Vuitton advertisements are generally works of art. They're beautifully designed advertisements, beautiful photography, beautiful layout, and they're just so well done. Now, the thing is, when I was really my early days of my interest in Louis Vuitton, there were some advertisements. Now, unfortunately, a lot of those magazines and things like that have long been since gone to the recycle bin. So it's always nice to get some advertisements from when you were just started to observe the brand. And one of the beautiful things about eBay is that I've managed to acquire a lot of advertisements that I can remember reading 10, 20 years ago. So that's really a fantastic source of information. So that's the old advertisements. Now, I've bought them on eBay. Generally, they're about $10 an advertisement. So it's certainly not cheap, but the other alternative is to go to a second-hand store or a jumble sale and buy a whole lot of old magazines and search through them yourself. So I've done both, and it's good to keep both methods in mind there. Often I've seen ads which I thought, oh geez, that ad is so that encompasses so much what I collect, so I've just paid the $10 plus shipping for the advertisement and be done with it. The other great source of literature is the Louis Vuitton yearly catalogue. Now, Louis Vuitton, they've basically had a catalogue out for about 100 years, and some of the very old catalogues are very, very collectible. Even catalogues from the 70s and 80s are getting very, very collectible. I've actually seen some early 80s catalogues on eBay, and I've seen some of them for $100 to $150. So they certainly are getting quite that price obviously reflects the fact that they're getting quite scarce there. So those old Louis Vuitton catalogues, they're a great source of information. I've bought a few old ones. The terrible thing is I can remember years ago actually giving some of the older catalogues I had away to people, and now I'm paying $100 to buy one back. So it's one of those things you just don't know at the time that the catalogues are going to be so good to have there. The other thing about the catalogues, unfortunately, is that Louis Vuitton itself seems to be phasing them out. Now, this is a bit of a quandary, and it's something that has annoyed me for a while. I've often gone to a Louis Vuitton store that I've bought new pieces from, and I've got a relationship with the staff, and I've said, oh, have you got the new catalogue? And they've said to me, it's all going online on the internet. Now, I do love the internet, and but I find it really sad the fact that Louis Vuitton is getting rid of the catalogue for having an online presence, because the whole beautiful thing about the catalogue is it's a history, it's a document that you can come back to years later and look through. Whereas if it's a website, those old lines, once Louis Vuitton is not producing that line anymore, they are very quickly deleted from their website, so you don't have that historical reference point. Now, the interesting thing is, I've actually rung up the Louis Vuitton ordering phone number, and I've asked them for a catalogue, and they've actually mailed me one out. So I have no idea why the store would say to you, "Oh, look, there's no more catalogues, that we're out of them," when you can ring the toll-free Louis Vuitton number and get a catalogue mailed to you. Now, I feel myself it's a great shame that the catalogue is being killed off there. So just be aware of that, and I do understand it is very difficult to get the latest catalogue from the store. I suppose the problem is they have so many people walk in, "Can I have a catalogue? Can I have a catalogue?" And the catalogues obviously cost money. I personally would not object at all to paying $10, $20 for a catalogue. I have no idea why Louis Vuitton doesn't say the catalogue is $20, or if you buy a piece, say a piece over $200, $300, you get a catalogue for free. I think that would be the smarter business model to run with. But anyhow, that's the catalogues. I love my catalogues, and I certainly I think it's a great shame if Louis Vuitton does do away with them. So the catalogues, you've got to be a bit sneaky how you get them. You might want to ring the 1-800 Louis Vuitton number and get them to mail you one out. The other great source of literature is books that are written on the topic itself. Now, you can do some great searches through Amazon or Barnes and Noble. There's a fantastic book I bought recently, which was Vintage Luggage, which wasn't 100% concentrating on Louis Vuitton, but it looked at all the beautiful luggage. So Louis Vuitton, of course, was a major topic in that book. Other books I've bought there. There's been some even non-Louis Vuitton books I've bought. There's one about a Birkin, bringing home the Birkin, which was a Hermes type book. That's always an interesting read, because it's about luxury handbags and luggage. The other source of information is the Japanese magazines. Now, obviously Louis Vuitton has a huge following in Japan, so in Japan itself they have a huge magazine business which produces magazines about Louis Vuitton. So these magazines often highlight all the different models, all the different variations. They highlight the rarer lines, and those magazines are absolutely fantastic to get. I've got a friend of mine who goes to Japan for business. They always say, "Oh, pick me up a few Japanese brand magazines." They've got some magazines which cover luxury goods, so they would cover Rolex, Cartier watches, Patek Philippe, and Louis Vuitton and Hermes, and they've got some which are solely Louis Vuitton related. I try and get any I can get my hands on. I love to have in the collection. So I hope that's been a bit of a guide on some ideas on collecting the literature for Louis Vuitton, and if you're like me, anything to do with Louis Vuitton you like to get your hands on. So I hope that gives you a few ideas there. Thanks very much, and please keep the comments coming.